What do I do? Put my hand up?
You ready? You sure?
God, ready.
Okay.
Welcome to Big Questions, Short Answers. I'm Sian.
And I'm Andy, Sian's husband, asking the big life questions.
And possibly adding a little bit of unsolicited advice.
Maybe. This podcast is brought to you by Sian's value-based online course. Visit sianjacquet.com to find out more. On today's edition, we are going to talk about conflict, something Sian has got a lot of experience of, both home and abroad.
Well, you're not done so bad yourself in the world of conflict. But anyway, come on.
No, but you've got a lot of experience of conflict, and you managed to find, especially within business, you managed to find a way in which conflicts are resolved amicably, and normally without the use of lawyers, well, certainly in this house. But we're talking about business in terms of resolving conflict, and that happens a lot, doesn't it, in business? Inevitably, you're going to get conflict. It's about how to manage that. I want to kind of work our way through that one.
In 10 minutes, you want me to cover the whole issue of conflict at work?
No, just to start with, I mean, I think we can go into the stuff at home at a later date, but just the idea of conflict at work.
Well, how do you manage it if you're leading a team, or even if you're part of a team and you're either the person who's having the conflict, or you've got front row seats because two of your colleagues are just not rocking and rolling in the right way? Well, the word that comes to mind is empathy, because if anybody's going to step in between two people, and you should, the only way I know to do it is to listen.
Right.
Yeah. Now, there are techniques to doing it, right? And depending on where that arc of how serious this is, yeah, there are some fundamentals. You know, if let's say 1 to 10, and this is a 2 or a 3 in my judgment, yeah, I might get both people to sit down and we just have an open conversation. But if you're over 5 and you're hitting 8 and 9 in conflict, then I'm strongly suggest you don't sit with both of them. It's all about listening and giving somebody empathy, because anybody who is getting riled up, aggravated, whatever, the bottom line is that they have a perspective of something that is different.
Yeah.
Right? Take all the ack out of it. That's what it is about.
Yeah.
Well, when we feel like we've been forced into responding to something because it's wrong or whatever, as human beings, really all we want is to be heard, is listen to my point of view, listen to why I have come to this conclusion. I need somebody to approach this to give me the opportunity to be heard.
It's very difficult, though, for without somebody in between. Obviously, sometimes with it's a triangle kind of works, but when there's just two people battling it out, it's really difficult.
Yeah, well, then there are fundamental questions. And again, I come back to listening.
Right.
Because most of us, what reality is and what we perceive to be happening, there's usually a big gap between the two. Yeah. In a working world, let's just use a very banal, basic thing, that somebody's been tasked to do a job and we come back and the job hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we've all been there, right? And how do you respond to that?
Yeah.
Well, the first place to respond is to check the understanding of the process that you follow. And was that person aware that it needed to be finished? Because for me, it was urgent.
Right.
Did I actually tell them it was urgent?
Right.
I mean, if I'm honest, probably the vast majority of conflict that I've ever dealt with is where it's, we kind of, it's not that people hate each other and don't want to work. It's that one person's perception of what truth and what they were task they were given is very different.
You're doing an animation here with your arms crossing.
Yeah, crossing over, do you know what I mean? And it's, again, from my experience, the longer somebody is left to fester with this sense of injustice, or that process hasn't been followed. Because what we're actually talking about is your core values.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
I spoke to somebody yesterday, right, a client, who there was quite a significant conflict, yeah? And the one member of staff raised their voice and was quite aggressive to the other member of staff. Now, if you step back and unpeel it, which is what I did yesterday, yeah, the one person who was being shouted at kind of emotionally respond and got really quite upset in the workplace.
Yeah.
And this person is a leader,
Right.
The figurehead, probably is the best way to say it. And they got really upset because they felt they'd let themselves down, or that wasn't how you were supposed to behave.
What you like getting emotional with the other person.
Yeah. And I listened, and we had a very real conversation about it. And where we led to was what all of my beliefs are, that the reason she responded in the way she did was because she was poked, that the person went for one of her core values.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, if you truly live a values-based life, and especially, looking at the workplace, somebody challenges it, it is literally like being poked with a hot poker.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I would not respond like that because that's not who I am.
Are you saying you've got no idea of who I am and what I am, or appreciate? I appreciate it, if that's the right word, but you understand what I'm saying. So conflict in the workplace usually comes when there's a disalignment of values. One person thinks one thing, one thinks the other.
Yeah.
So, the ABCs are listening, and taking time to listen. Don't do the grab you for 5 minutes. Oh, this is an irritating problem. I'll just give them 2 minutes of my time and shush it out of my way. Yeah.
Because that's just going to grow.
Well, there is nothing more guaranteed to make somebody resentful and to start layering beliefs. Nobody cares. Nobody listens. This is a shit working environment. That's a shit boss. This is a shit team. Yeah. So you have to prioritize it.
And of course,
that.
Yeah. And of course, work colleagues will come out of that meeting saying, oh, you won't believe, it just didn't give me any fucking time at all.
Mm-hmm. Or 101, he didn't understand.
Yeah.
Didn't even think, I was going to use bad words there. Didn't even ask, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So in terms of like the conflict, it's you've got to take the pressure cooker off to start with, haven't you? When people are really angry.
Okay, well, you're sidestepping me now. So are you asking me, what do you do if you're in conflict with somebody?
Well, that'll be...
If you're one of you...
Not to say I've been there, but I've been there.
one of the lead characters. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, again, I can give you the 101.
Right.
That if there is a conflict situation, unless you're particularly skilled at doing it, and there are people who are particularly skilled at conflict.
You're very good at that.
Am I?
What do you mean? At resolving conflict or just having conflict?
Having conflict.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
As soon as you are in a conflict situation where your instincts tell you this is stepping outside the boundaries of normal,
Yeah.
the way you'll know that is that in your central power base, in your gut, in your stomach,
Yeah.
right? That is where you will know it first, before your brain even engages.
Right.
Yeah. And if you can learn to recognize that,
Right.
because not everybody can think fast under pressure situations, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually when it all goes to pear-shaped, because not only are you in a conflict, disagreement situation,
Yeah.
you also are not on the front foot. You're not.
Yeah. I'm not very good at that.
No,
I'm
you're not.
Terrible.
I've been shit.
Other situation good at, but not that when you're under pressure and people are going, yeah, I get like overawed, and
the art, there's one of two things. The first thing you do is you focus on the issue, not the person, right? It's not about a person, it's about the issue, right? But more importantly, you use your own regulator to walk. 9 times out of 10, right? 9 times out of 10, my advice to anybody would be to say, okay, 9 times out of 10, my advice to anybody would be, as soon as your instinct tells you, whoa, this is, we're tipping into a very different space here.
yeah,
Have a place to go to, even practice it, yeah? Which sounds and looks like, we're not going to resolve this at the moment. This isn't how we should be communicating. Let's take some time out.
okay,
And we'll circle back. And you get up and you walk out.
right,
And that makes a huge statement, yeah? But you...
right. And so either as the leader or as the employee.
Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And you could be 2 employees that are on the same level,
Yeah.
flicking burgers
Yeah,
in McDonald's. Yeah.
taking time out.
If the person you're communicating with ups the ante to a point where your instinct is thinking, whoa, this is way different than I can manage or I thought it would be. To walk is the most powerful thing you can do.
But then, like, you've walked.
Yeah.
Right, so that's just diffused it. But then...
You then go and seek support from a senior member of staff. Yeah, you can use a colleague. Again, I'm slightly concerned about that because then people, through other values like loyalty and whatever, get whipped up into it.
Oh, they can call you?
Oh, yeah, you can call me. What I say to people is the first pit stop after you've got yourself wound up in any situation is a sanity check. It's not about, am I right? I need you to defend what I've done. I need you to agree with me, which is, we all kind of go there.
Yeah.
But when if you actually focus and from an emotionally intelligent point of view, it's about taking a step out of it and looking at it for what it is, not for how it makes you feel. Yeah. So going to speak to somebody and say, me, what were the phrase I use? Can I have 5 minutes? I just need a sanity check.
Right.
Yeah. This is what happened. This is what was said. This is how I'm left feeling. Have I lost my mind? Yeah. And I often do that. That's kind of the process that I've created. And then I have a handful of, what I call my trusted advisors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you really don't want somebody to say, oh, yeah, absolutely, playing lip service to, because that's just going to wind you up, isn't it?
That's the problem. If you go to your colleagues and you're inviting them to start having walk-on parts in a conflict that they didn't come into work for. But again, I'm answering this question from somebody who's managed teams and in quite pressured environments, But from a leader's point of view, or if you are in charge of a group of human beings in whatever shape or form, even as a parent, you need to give them the opportunity to talk and not tell them what they're thinking or tell them what they've done wrong. You just need to listen, And then you move the dial away from feeling to facts.
Right.
Yes?
Right.
Look, I could go on for hours, but it's your job is to take the ack out of it if you're a leader, And the only way you can do that is if people trust you to do it. They're handing you the weapon, if you like.
And leadership, as you've said, we haven't really discussed this, but it's something maybe we'll go on to talk about, is leadership doesn't necessarily mean that you're, the CEO or whatever. It's taking a leadership role in your own life. So if you choose to walk out of a meeting, you're taking a leadership role in that, aren't you?
Absolutely. Taking responsibility for who and what you are. Yeah. Now, again, it's how you walk out the room. Yes. There are instances of not sure throwing that computer in the corner of the room was necessary part of exiting stage right, pursued by a bear. You get my point.
Yeah.
But all of us, look back on my career, all of us have got a couple of shadowy corners where now we're a bit older and wiser. You think, oh God, I should never have done that. Oh God, I got that wrong. Yeah. But 9 times out of 10, it's because your values are being challenged and your core sense of who you are is being belittled or challenged or rewritten or ignored or whatever. And that's why just by listening, truly listening and making somebody feel, you don't just look like you're leaning, you create a whole place of truly listening.
Brilliant. All right, we'll leave that there. I'm sure we'll circle back, as that awful phrase is, at some stage, because I think that affects pretty much all our daily lives. Join us next time on Big Questions, Short Answers with Sian Jacquet and me, Andy.
If you have any questions you want to ask, please send them via the website, sianjacquet.com.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share it with everyone you know.
We really do appreciate you sharing 15 minutes with us.
And if you want to do a bit more learning, go on to Sian's website, sianjacquet.com. There's a course on values to create the life you truly love. I did it, and it really does do what it says on the can.
See you next time.